Welcome to the photo department.
That's all it is.
Today I'm drinking an Ethiopia Guji Highland from Compelling Coffee out of a Stumptown mug. This coffee is really fantastic. I actually think I was drinking this in another episode, but it's just super good, so I decided to drink it again. I've actually had this coffee since the beginning of this month, and it's just about almost a month off roast, which usually coffee gets pretty stale and you start to lose some of the good flavors and it's just not a great cup anymore, but this coffee's holding up really well, so I'm still enjoying it. Compelling Coffee is a roaster based out of LA. Really great coffees. All of the offerings that they have are really delicious, so check them out. Alright, so today I wanted to talk about adapting vintage lenses, manual focus lenses, to digital bodies, more specifically mirrorless bodies. I've been doing this ever since I got my first mirrorless camera because when I bought my Fuji XE1 for my friend Nico, he had included a Fuji adapter with it that adapted vintage Canon manual focus lenses like the FD or the FL series to the Fuji body. So because that was included with the camera, I wanted to try it out. Since I have a ton of vintage FD and FL lenses, since I own a couple of Canon AE1s and older Canon cameras. So the first lens I ever adapted was the Canon 50mm 1.8, which is a super well-known, popular, and easy to find lens. Really cheap. They're like $50 or $60 online everywhere. Hey Minerva, I'm filming something. You need to be quiet. My cat is very vocal these days, and she just will be meowing throughout this video. I've been adapting vintage Canon lenses for a while, and then I started realizing that one, I really don't mind manual focus. I actually really like manual focusing. And two, there are endless options out there for adaptable lenses on mirrorless cameras specifically. Since then, I've picked up older Canon lenses like my Canon 50mm 1.4, which is a little bit faster than the 1.8. It's bigger, it's got more glass. It's a more serious looking lens and wide open. It's just absolutely incredible for portraits. So here are a few examples of some adapters. This one is a Fotodiox FD to FX. So this is the Canon FD or FL mount lenses to the Fujifilm X mount or FX mount lenses. This one is made by Fotodiox. It's pretty simple and pretty rugged. It's all metal. It's very nicely constructed. I think this one was $15 on Amazon. So it's really affordable, and it's a really cheap way to get into expanding your lens selection if you don't have like a ton of money to buy native autofocus lenses and you don't mind manual focusing. This is made by K&F Concept. This is also from Amazon. I think this one was $12, and this is an M42 to FX. And M42 is a screw mount, which was popular on, I think, Canon, Pentax, and maybe some Leicas had it. Hey, I'm in the middle of a video. Yeah, alright. This adapter is one that gets used a lot, and it's usually attached to my favorite lens, which is my Super Takumar 50mm 1.4 Pentax lens. I got this lens from Christine, who you all know because I talk about her often, and a lot of you found my channel through her channel. Christine had a big box of cameras and she wanted to get rid of them, so she unloaded them on me, which I was happy to take them. And in that box of cameras was this Honeywell Pentax Spotmatic, which is a really great SLR. It's very simple. It is really easy to use. I know. When I first got it, this camera wasn't functional. It is now. I fixed it. When I got that camera, it had the Pentax 50mm 1.4 attached. I thought that I would give it a try on my Fuji. It is a lot smaller than my Canon 50mm 1.4. Here is the Canon 50mm 1.4 next to the Pentax. It's a lot smaller. And that makes a big difference because you got to add an adapter to get it to fit to the camera, and that adds a little bit of length. So the smaller the better. So this has the same light gathering abilities as the 1.4 Canon, but in a much smaller package. So this 50mm Canon, which is a brilliant lens, now lives on my Canon F1, which is my favorite 35mm, which I also got from Christine, because Christine just enriches my life everywhere she goes, anything she does. That's the lens attached to the screw mount M42 to FX adapter. So it's still relatively small. It's still about the size of a prime lens on a DSLR, so it's not that big, but it fits on the X Pro 2 really well. Doesn't mess up the balance. The aperture ring is very clicky. All the aperture stops are right there. They're in third stops. Oh no. They're in half stops. So it also has the distance meter. You can see right there as I turn the lens, the distance meter shows you what distance you're focusing to, which is great for calculating hyperfocal distance if you like to shoot that way, which sometimes I do. It's got a really nice medium long focus throw, so you can really kind of nail the focus without like accidentally like bumping it out of focus, because it's not super touchy. It's really nice that way, and it's lightweight. Canon 50mm 1.4 is the same weight as the Pentax with the adapter attached to it, and this adapter is heavy duty metal. It's not super light, so that says something. So how do the pictures look? Well, here's a couple of examples. As you can see, the images take on this vintage kind of look. It's softer wide open, but really sharp in the center. If I stop it down to like f2.8 or even f2, it's pretty damn sharp from the center to the corners. So if you don't need all that light gathering ability, you still want a nice blurred out background, but you want everything that's in focus to be super, super sharp. If you stop it down to f2, it's going to be really sharp for you, which is nice. Everything seems to look a little bit cooler taken with this lens. I don't know if I'm just making that up, or it's my eyes deceiving me, or if it's some weird bias that I have, but it looks like it kind of takes on this cool, almost more bluish sort of feel straight out of the camera. I did shoot all of the videos before this one on a Canon 5D Mark II that my friend let me borrow, with this lens adapted to the Canon, and I did notice that the white balance was a little bit cooler on all those video clips. So that's not a bad thing necessarily, just something to look out for. I tend to edit my images or shoot images a little cooler. I think it looks nice. I really like the look of it, so I don't mind it. I think it's great. This is really great for stills. I love this lens for stills, but I think it really excels in video. And I'm going to switch out my kit lens right now for the Pentax so you can see what the video looks like on my X Pro 2. So here's the Pentax 50mm 1.4 mounted to my X Pro 2. And it's obviously a lot closer to my face. The reason for that is that the X Pro 2 has a 1.5 times crop. And basically what that means is that the sensor is a crop sensor. It's not as big as full frame or as small as micro four thirds. So in order to figure out what the focal length for any given lens would be, you take the normal focal length, which this is a 50mm, and you would multiply it times 1.5, and that gives us 75mm. So while this lens is still a 50mm lens, the angle of view has changed to a 75mm angle of view. The reason for that is the image circle that the lens is projecting back on the sensor is 1.5 times larger than the sensor can see. So the sensor is basically just looking at the middle section of the lens, but slightly out of that. It's just not the entire image circle. So it looks zoomed in, but in reality, you're just seeing part of what the lens is totally seeing, because the sensor can't get all of that information because it's projecting outside of the boundaries of the circle. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. So here I'll share with you a couple of video clips so that you can see what this lens looks like when mounted to a camera while shooting video. Okay, now we're back on my Fuji lens. So the Pentax for me is really great for video. I really like the look of the lens straight out of the camera. I don't think that it needs a whole lot of color grading. I'm not really good at that kind of thing anyways. So right out of the box, it looks really nice, and you know, it's a little less contrast than native lenses would be, but sometimes that's a really good thing. What I have been doing when I edit the videos is just adding a little bit of contrast if it needs it. I've started actually editing video with Lightroom, which is a really cool thing that I will show you in another video. It just makes it a lot easier to color correct certain scenes really quickly, and I like that a lot. This is my favorite lens right now. I have a couple of really great lenses from Fuji that I use a lot. The 18-55 kit lens, which is what I'm shooting this video on right now, and the 35mm f2, which is pretty much bolted to my camera most of the time, because most of the time I'm using autofocus. But if I'm going to be shooting portraits, or if I want to get a specific look, or if I just want to stop relying on autofocus and start shooting, you know, more organically, I'll pull out the Pentax 50mm and throw that on, and you know, kind of go back to the way I'm used to shooting, which is with film cameras that don't have autofocus. So I recently just picked up a Pentax 6.7 camera, which is a medium format camera, earlier last week, and I've been shooting with it all week to try to kind of get a handle on the handling and get used to how it works, and it's been really cool. I just kind of started to realize that I'm really in love with Pentax lenses. Much like this lens has that great clicky aperture ring, really smooth, kind of a medium long throw focus, the Pentax 105 2.4, which I have right here, is very similar. It actually looks like the big brother to the 50mm 1.4. They're very similar in features, look, the way they render color and contrast. And in full frame, this lens is actually about a 52mm focal length, so it's actually very close to the 50mm 1.4. This camera shoots 6.7 negatives, which is 6 centimeters by 7 centimeters, so they're very big negatives, which results in a crop factor of 2. So what that means is you take the 105 and you divide it by 2, and then you get the equivalent focal length in 35mm. So this 105 lens is actually a 52mm lens in 35mm speak, which means that these two are very similar. I love both of these lenses. They're both very fast, very good to use. I wish I could adapt this to the Fuji, but this thing, I think the Fuji is like 75mm tall, and this is like 93. This lens is literally too big to put on that camera, but it would be super cool too. But with the crop factor, this lens would end up being a 157.2 or 5 or something on that camera. So it'd be a little bit different, but this is a really awesome lens. So another cool thing is that the companies that make these mount adapters, like Fotodiox and others, they actually make adapters for all sorts of kinds of cameras. So if you have a Fuji camera, or an Olympus Micro Four Thirds camera, or a Panasonic, like a GH4 or GH5, or some other kind of mirrorless camera, chances are they have an adapter for it. So this doesn't just apply to Fujifilm cameras. This works for all sorts of mirrorless cameras. So what that means is you can pretty much take any vintage lenses that you find and adapt them to any mirrorless body that you could possibly have, which is really, really cool, and it extends the usability of your camera a ton. You just have to figure out what the crop factor of your specific camera is, so that you can figure out what the actual practical focal length of that lens that you're adapting to your camera is. All right, I hope this video was helpful. I hope that you guys go out there and try new things with old vintage lenses and bring them back to life and make cool pictures with them. If you have any questions about mounting vintage lenses to your new camera, you can leave me a comment below, or you can email me through my website and I'll get to you as soon as I can. There's also a lot of information online, which is really great. Stuff that I've actually looked at myself when I was first starting to do this. I will put some resources below in the description. This is also the first video I've made with the X Pro 2 in video mode, and it's so far been really easy and really cool. So hopefully it turns out rad. I'm going to be shooting most of my videos with the X Pro 2 coming up. I might actually be investing in a Canon 80D or maybe even a Panasonic GH2. We'll see. I'm going to be making more time to make videos, taking it more seriously. I'm going to be traveling, and I would really like to have a dedicated video rig for that, especially because a lot of the videos are going to have me shooting, and if I have the X Pro 2 doing all the filming, then I can't shoot with it. Subscribe. You can give me a thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you hate it. But if you hate it, why are you here? Shout out to Compelling Coffee for their excellent coffee. Stumptown Coffee for their excellent camp mugs. Yeah. Shout out to my cat who stayed quiet long enough for me to finish this video. Thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I've had so many people subscribe lately that it's kind of blown my mind. My subscriber count shot up a lot, which is very cool. I hope I don't let you guys down. Like I said, I'm going to try to take this more seriously and create more content and hopefully have more things for you in the next couple weeks. If you have questions about specific topics that you would love to see me cover in a video, please leave it in the comments section or email me. And if it's something that I have enough knowledge about or I can do some research on and that I think would be really helpful for you, more people, and even myself, I will definitely consider making a video about it. So that's always an option too. So please communicate with me. I would love to hear from you guys. This has been the Photo Department. Goodbye.